හරිම සුමුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9 this Thursday, the 11th of January 2024. President speaks. President Ranil Wickremesinghe meets with ambassadors from 10 Middle Eastern nations to reaffirm bilateral commitment. He also pledges a new policy framework predicated on the re-export of gems. Finance monitoring. Japanese finance minister visits Sri Lanka to discuss the debt restructuring process, while the IMF also touches down in town for another review of Sri Lanka's economic progress. TIN update. IRD officials confirm that Sri Lankans domiciled overseas do not need to open a tax identification number file. Sri Lanka evolves. Tourism Minister Harin Fernando pledges to transform Sri Lanka into a marine tourist destination and establish entertainment streets in Colombo.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
නියම මෝල්ට් සාරය සමග මැලිබන් මෝල්ට් දැන් රුපියල් 750ක් පමණයි.
This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and a warm welcome to today's edition of AdaDerana's English News First at 9. I'm Jonathan Benedict. Let's take a look at our top stories for this evening, starting with our top story right now. President Ranil Wickremesinghe expressed his commitment to strengthening deep diplomatic ties with the Middle Eastern nations in the spheres of politics, culture, economics and defense. During a meeting with ambassadors from the Middle East, the president outlined Sri Lanka's foreign policy, emphasizing the strengthening of relationships with Asia, West Asia, Africa and the Middle East, in addition to the existing relations with the West. President Wickremesinghe also called for an immediate ceasefire on the war between Israel and Hamas and added that the Sri Lankan government is ready to send humanitarian aid once the ceasefire is announced. A meeting with ambassadors from 10 Middle Eastern nations was held at the Presidential Secretariat this morning under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Sri Lanka's foreign policy is now to look towards closer relations with the Arab countries. So therefore, we have so far achieved part of it. We are looking in the future to have closer cooperation with the whole Arab world. It's a part of our new foreign policy. On one hand, we are looking at cooperation with East Asia, Southeast Asia and Australia. That's why we've decided to make an application to enter the RCEP. On the other hand, to look at the Arab world and also East Africa and South Africa. By next year, the latest, we'll also be opening an embassy in Kazakhstan to replace the one that we had earlier in Kabul so that we can reach out to the Central Asian Republic. We are looking in different fields of how we can further strengthen the relations politically, culturally, economically and militarily. This month will give us the opportunity to lay the groundwork. Sri Lanka's stand on Palestine and the present Gaza war is very, very clear. We've always said for an attack made in Israel by Hamas, you can't make it an excuse to wipe out a total society that is living in Gaza. So we want immediately a ceasefire in Gaza. Also, I must say that Sri Lanka in its own way will help and send aid to Gaza when there's a ceasefire. And furthermore, as stability returns, we will be prepared in our own limited way to build one school in Gaza.
Staying on topic with the President Ranil Wickremesinghe stated that a policy framework to regulate the gem industry in Sri Lanka is in the works, adding that this particular policy framework aims for re-export and value addition in gems as well as to increase foreign exchange through the sale of gems. He went on to stress the need for modernizing the gem industry, adding that incentives will be given to those within the industry, emphasizing that tax benefits will not solve the issues of the gem industry as a whole.
The opening ceremony of the GEM Sri Lanka 2024 Gem and Jewellery Exhibition, organised by the China For Gems and Jewellery Trade Association, was held under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe today.
We have looked at the gem industry, and in the last budget speech, I said we will announce a policy framework in regard. In the next 2 months, we'll work out the policy framework. Gems industry in Sri Lanka will be developed. Sri Lanka has a potential for gems. And both gems, re-exports of gems and value addition in gems is what the government policy is aiming for. And to increase our revenue, our foreign exchange from gems. With that in mind, we have to modernize the industry, we have to modernize the gemming industry, we have to modernize the cutting industry. It's a whole range of issues. This is not an industry that can be solved by giving tax benefits if you don't do the rest of it. So we will have our incentives plus, as you notice, upgrading the industry to a higher level. Both these are necessary. And we hope that in time to come, we will be able to ensure that there is a regular supply of gems and a better supply of gems and a bigger supply of gems to all of you outside. As Ian Fleming said some time ago, diamonds are forever. Not only diamonds, Sri Lankan gems are also forever. Sapphires have had history and has been noted for a long time. I'm sure if the Queen of Sheba could wear it, why not you all? So we are giving you that opportunity. It's you who will take it.
In other news, a group of officials from the International Monetary Fund have arrived in Sri Lanka today for another review of the economic progress of the country. According to State Minister of Finance Shahan Semasinga, officials will engage in discussions for a period of 1 week. The State Minister further states that during the stay of the representatives in the country, they will discuss the progress made by the country's economy and measures to be implemented in the future. The delegation met officials from the Finance Ministry and the Central Bank of Sri Lanka this morning, while a meeting was scheduled with President Ranil Wickremesinghe this evening. Accordingly, IMF representatives will study the process of economic reforms carried out thus far within the country, following the IMF's approval of the first review under the Extended Fund Facility Arrangement for Sri Lanka. On the topic of debt restructuring, Japanese Finance Minister Suzuki Shunichi arrived in Sri Lanka today for a 2-day official visit. Upon his arrival, Minister Suzuki was accorded a warm welcome at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake. The President's Media Division said that the Japanese Finance Minister met with President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Presidential Secretariat a few hours ago to discuss matters pertaining to Sri Lanka's debt restructuring process. He is also further expected to meet key government officials, including Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Minister Suzuki and the delegation will visit Parliament, the Jayawardena Centre, Sri Jayawardenapura Hospital, the Colombo Dockyard, and the Lanka Nippon BizTech Institute in Maharagama during their stay in Sri Lanka. Prior to his visit to Sri Lanka, the Japanese Finance Minister also visited Cambodia on the 9th of January. In other news, Sri Lanka Inland Revenue Department officials stressed that Sri Lankans residing abroad do not have to register with the IRD to obtain a tax identification number, which is mandatory for all those above 18 years of age. Joining the At Hyde Park with Indivari Amawata program today, Senior Deputy Commissioner of the Inland Revenue Department, Nihal Vijayawardena, said that non-residents who do not have an income that exceeds a threshold of 1.2 million rupees per year do not have to open a tin file, as it is not a prerequisite of the Gazette. Meanwhile, also present at the program was the partner and head of the tax division at Ernst & Young, Suleiman Nishta, who, commenting on the employer's responsibility of paying income tax on behalf of employees in the instance that transactions have not been made, said that employers will be held responsible for the unpaid income tax.
This gazette is applicable only for resident individual. Resident has to be identified based on the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act. So according to the Inland Revenue Act, any individual is non-resident, then there is no requirement to get this TIN certificate. But if they are deriving taxable income from Sri Lanka, sometimes they may have passive sources of income like interest, rent. Likewise, they may have some income sources in Sri Lanka. If they are deriving income sources process like that, and once their tax liability is calculated, and if there is a taxable income and has to pay any tax, they have to register.
If say there is a person, that person has a dual citizenship, or another person is a PR, or some persons over 18 years persons in other country for the studying purpose. If that person has a income sources in Sri Lanka and earn some income from Sri Lanka for the year of assessment, that amount exceed the 1.2 million per year, only that person required to register and get the TIN number. That is not mentioned in the Gazette notification. It's the normal Inland Revenue law. If any person earn income from Sri Lanka, liable to pay taxes. If resident person in Sri Lanka earn income in Sri Lanka or any other country, total income is liable to pay income tax.
How does this taxable income work? Do the corporates or companies that you work for pay taxes on your behalf? If that happens, are individuals liable or are they punishable according to this Gazette? Those who work for companies, private limited companies, major corporations, how does this really, I mean, as an employee rather, what should you be looking out for?
So employer has an obligation to assess the right amount of income you're paying as salary or remuneration to your employee, withhold it and pay the department on a monthly basis. So the issue there is if the employer doesn't take that responsibility properly, on an audit the department can come and later on after 2-3 years, even after the employee has left, will come after you. So you will be as an employer out of pocket if you don't deduct the right amount. Plus they will reconcile that with what you're showing in your accounts as what you paid your employee as well. So you will have a salary amount that you're deducting for tax in your P&L, and they'll compare this with what you have actually paid PAYE on. So there you kind of get trapped. On the employee side, if once the employer has deducted the fair share of PAYE tax, they're expected to give you a T10 certificate at the end of the year. That will stipulate what is the total amount I paid you as salary, this is the total amount I deducted, and I have paid it to the Department of Inland Revenue on your behalf. That's like cash. That T10 is like cash, proof that you have discharged your liability. If you have that and you are over 100,000 a month, you have to get a TIN. Once you register for the TIN, that doesn't automatically make you file a return or pay tax. TIN is just an identification. You're identified only. After that, you have to go a step ahead. If you have income over 1 lakh a month, you need to get what is register for income tax, and then only you will get a return and a facility to pay your taxes at the right time. Also, it's not only over 1 lakh, because for example, there may be on certain types of income that your somebody is withholding tax from you. Let's say I have 90,000 rupees of interest income a month, not 1 lakh. Technically, I don't have to file a return. But if I do register, the 5% the bank is withholding on that 90,000, I can claim a refund, right? So you need to see your income sources and whether somebody is deducting tax from you which you are not eligible to pay.
If the income exceed the 1.2 million per year, only that person is liable to pay income tax. Second thing is, even though there is a provision in the Inland Revenue Act to impose penalty who fail the register, we do not use that section. We do not impose penalty because we know number of people want to get the TIN certificate. Number of people. So it takes some times to obtain or issue that TIN number, the IRD part. If we can expand the income tax income by catching tax evaders, then government is in a position to reduce VAT rates.
Samagi Jana Balawega MP S.M. Marika, commenting on the reports by the United National Party Working Committee meeting held yesterday, says that the election dates cannot be decided by a party that only possesses a single seat in Parliament. Speaking in Parliament today, he said that the Elections Commission of the country has already announced the elections will be called in July per the constitution of the country. With that, let's take a look at what happened in the political arena today.
වැට් වැඩි කිරීමට අතෝසල අත් දෙකම උසලා පූර්ණ සහාය දීලා දවස් දෙක තුනක් ගිහිලා ප්‍රකාශයක් කරන මේ බදු ප්‍රතිපත්තියට අපි විරුද්ධයි කියලා. මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා බද්ද වැඩි කරනකොට අත උසලා එළියට ගිහිල්ලා එතුමා කියනවා මේකට අපි විරුද්ධයි කියලා.
ඇත්තටම 2015 2016 හොරු අල්ලන වැඩේ පටන් ගත්තා. ඒක තමයි ඇත්ත කතාව. මංගල සමරවීර මැතිතුමාද ජීවිතුන් අතර නැහැ. එතුමා හිටියනම් කියයි හොරු අල්ලන වැඩේ කොහොමද පටන් ගත්තේ කොහොමද හොරු අල්ලනවයි කියලා ආපු නායකයෝ හොරුත් එක්ක ඩීල් දාලා
ඔබතුමාට ඕනනම් එදා අගමැති ධූරය ගන්න තිබ්බා. ඔබතුමා ඊට පස්සේ මේ රටේ ජනාධිපති වෙන්න තිබ්බා. ඔබතුමා ඔය කියන ආකාරයේ එදා ඕනනම් ඔබතුමාට ඒ වගකීම ගත්තා නම් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විසිරවලා තමුන්නාන්සේලා මැතිවරණයකට යන්න තිබ්බා. එතකොට ඔබතුමා අනාගතයක් ගැන නෙමෙයි කල්පනා කරේ. ඔබතුමා ඒ වෙලාවේ නොහැකියාව ඔබතුමා කල්පනා කරා. හැබැයි මම විශ්වාස කරනවා ඔබතුමාගේ නොහැකියාව ඔබතුමා එදා තේරුම් ගැනීම සම්බන්ධයෙන්
මට ඇත්තරම හිනහයි. දැන් පෙරේදා නිවුස් එකක් ප්ලාන් කරනවා එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ කළමනාකරණ කමිටුව ජනාධිපතිවරණය සැප්තැම්බර් මාසෙක තීරණය කරාලු. එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය කොහොමද කියන්නේ? ව්‍යවස්ථාව අනුව ජනාධිපතිවරණ කැඳවන්නේ මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාව. ඔවුන් නිවේදනය කරලා ඉවරයි. ජූලි මාසේ මැතිවරණය කැඳවනවා කියලා ඉවරලා. ඊට පස්සේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැතිවරණේ ජනවාරි මාසෙලු. එයාලා කොහොමද තීරණය කරන්නේ? රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා ජනාධිපති වෙනවද? අපි පැහැදිලිව කියන්න කැමති එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ කාසනයක්වත් නැහැ. දැන් මේ ඔක්කොම කරලා පුළුවන් ද කියලා බලනවා මේ අපේ පැත්තෙන් එන්න. නැත හම්බෙන්නේ නැත දෙන්නෙත් නැත. ඒ නිසා මහින්දානන්ද මහත්තයා අපි මේ 30 වෙනිදාට ජනතාව පාරට බස්සනවා. වැට්ටක වැඩි කරාට විරුද්ධව අපි පාරට බස්සනවා.
මරික්කාර මන්ත්‍රීතුමා කිව්වා 30 වෙනිදා පාරට බහිනවයි කිව්වා. දැන් මේගොල්ලෝ ඔය බැස්සිල්ල කීපාරක් බැස්සුවා. මේගොල්ලෝ බස්සනවා දැන් කීප විටක් මේ ආණ්ඩුව මිනිස්සු පාරට බස්සලා මේ ආණ්ඩුව ගෙදර යවන්න උත්සාහ කරා. අපි දැන් බලන් ඉන්නවා ඔබතුමා 30 වෙනිදාත් දානකම්.
Upon her arrival to Sri Lanka on a 3-day visit yesterday, Princess Anne and her spouse Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Lawrence called on President Ranil Wickremesinghe in an occasion which was graced by many high-ranking officials. Her visit to Sri Lanka comes as both Sri Lanka and the UK mark 75 years of diplomatic relations.
The Royal Princess of the United Kingdom and the only sister of King Charles III, Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, arrived in Sri Lanka yesterday for a 3-day visit. Upon her arrival to Sri Lanka, Princess Anne called on President Ranil Wickremesinghe for a visit. The occasion was graced by First Lady Professor Maitri Wickremesinghe, former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, as well as State Minister of Health Dr. Sita Arambapula. The visit of Princess Anne comes as both Sri Lanka and the UK mark 75 years of diplomatic relations. Princess Anne and the delegation visited the Temple of the Tooth Relic in Kandy today. The delegation then embarked on a journey to Jaffna thereafter and engaged in an inspection of several sites, including the Jaffna Library.
Welcome back. Minister of Tourism and Sports Harin Fernando expressed confidence in transforming Sri Lanka into a marine tourist destination this year. Addressing a media briefing today, the Tourism Minister also stated that an entertainment street will be established in the heart of Colombo to improve tourism of the country's commercial capital.
අපිට ඉස්සලා මුලින්ම තිබ්බේ ලංකාවට ආපු ප්ලේන් ටික නැවතුණා. දැන් එමිරේට්ස් එක විතරක් දවසට 5 පාරක් එනවා, කටාර් එක 6 පාරක් එනවා. ටර්කිෂ් එයර්ලයින්ස් හැමදාම එනවා, සිංගප්පූර් එයර්ලයින්ස් එනවා. දැන් කැතේ පැසිෆික් ටෙන්ඩර පටන් ගන්නවා. ලංකාවට එන්නේ නැති ගුවන් සේවයක් නැහැ. අවාසනාවට මේ ලක්ෂ 15ට අපිට යන්න තිබුණා. යන්න බැරි වෙච්ච මූලිකම හේතුව වුණේ ඊශ්‍රායලයේ පලස්තීනයේ තිබුණ ප්‍රශ්නයත් එක්ක ඊශ්‍රායලයේ ඔක්තෝබර් 31 වෙනිදා නම් ඩේලි ෆ්ලයිට් එකක් තිබ්බා ලංකාවට. ඩේලි ෆ්ලයිට් එකත් එක්ක ගණන් හදවලුවොත් 200 ගානක් වැළුවත් ඒ ගාන වලට මේ ගණන් ටික ඔක්කොම බැලලා මිලියන 1.6 වලට විතර යන්න තිබුණා. ඒ වගේම රෂියන් චාටර් ෆ්ලයිට්ස් පහ. ඒ පහට අවසර දීම විශාල ප්‍රමාදයක් වුණා සිවිල් ඒවියේෂන් එකේ. මම දන්නේ ඒකට හේතුව මොකක්ද කියලා. ඒකට අවසර ලැබුණෙත් නැහැ. ඒ නිසා එතනත් අපිට පොඩි අඩුපාඩුවක් වුණා. ඉතින් මේ අවුරුද්ද අපේ මූලික ඉලක්කය ලංකාව මරීන් ඩෙස්ටිනේෂන් එකක් බවට පත් කරගන්න. අපේ මේ වතුරේ බෝට්ටු තියෙන්න ඕනේ පැලෙන්න වගේ. මේ වෙලාව ඇතුළේ ඩයිවිං යන්න ඕනේ, සර්ෆිං යන්න ඕනේ. මේ සියලු දේට අපි අපේ අවධානය යොමු වෙලා නැහැ. ඒ නිසා අපි ජනාධිපතිතුමාගෙන් විශේෂ ඉල්ලීමක් කරා. මේවල ටැක්ස් අඩු කරලා මේක දැන්ට මේකේ ලොකු රිබේට් එකක් තියෙනවා. වෝටර් ස්පෝර්ට්ස් වල ඒවා ගේන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න. හැමදාම යන මිරිස්සත්, හැමදාම යන උණුවටුණත්, හැමදාම යන අරුගම්බෙත්, හැමදාම යන යාලත් වෙනුවට ලංකාවේ අලුත් වූ ස්ථාන කිහිපයක් අපි මේ වසරේ නම් කරනවා. කොළඹ සංචාරකයේ පොඩි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. ඒතල කොළඹට එන්නේ විශේෂයෙන්ම බිස්නස් ට්‍රැවලර්ස්. කොළඹ කරන්න දේවල් නැහැ. ඒ නිසා ජනාධිපතිතුමා බ්ලූ ප්‍රින්ට් එකක් හදලා තියෙනවා. ජනාධිපති මන්දිරය ඇතුළුව එතන එහාට පැත්තේ තියෙන නාවික හමුදාව ඇතුළු ඒ සියලු දේවල් වෙන් කළා ඒක එන්ටර්ටේන්මන්ට් ස්ට්‍රීට් එකක් ගන්න.
Meanwhile, Minister of Tourism and Sports Harin Fernando also commented on his meeting with Chief Executive Officer of the International Cricket Council, Jeff Allardyce.
ICC ප්‍රධාන විධායක නිලධාරිතුමා හම්බුණා, ජනාධිපතිතුමාත් හම්බුණා. ඔවුන්ට දැනගන්නට ඕන උනේ තහනම ඉවත් කරද්දී ඇමතිවරයා වෙනස් වුණොත් ආයෙත් එන ඇමතිවරයා මේක කරොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ කියන එක ඔවුන් නැවතතාවක් බෝඩ් මීටිමක් තියෙන ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම මාර්තු මාසේ. හැබැයි ඒක ඒගොල්ලන් එහෙම නොකර ඒගොල්ලන් ඒක ගේන්නම් කිව්වා. Zoom විදියට බෝඩ් මීටිමක් තියලා ලංකාවේ මේ තහනම ඉවත් කරන්න. හැබැයි ඒ ප්‍රධාන විධායක නිලධාරියා සහ සභාපතිවරයාට ප්‍රශ්නයක් වුණේ හිටපු අමාත්‍යවරයා 120ක් ඒ මුදල් වලින් ඉල්ලුවා කියලා. මොකද එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ member states ඉන්නවනේ. ඒගොල්ලන් අහනවලු ක්‍රිකට් ක්‍රීඩාවේ සල්ලි ලංකාවට විතරක් 120ක් දෙන්නේ කොහොමද අනිත් ක්‍රීඩාවලට කියලා. සාධාරණ තරකයන්නේ ওই ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි ඒගොල්ලන්ට වැඩියෙන්ම බලපෑවේ කියලා member states එක.
Shares closed lower at the Colombo Stock Exchange today for a fourth straight day, dragged down by losses in financial and industrial stocks. The CSE All-Share Index closed 0.43% lower than the previous session at 10,619.60 points, falling for 4 straight sessions. LOLC Finance PLC and Ceylon Tobacco Company PLC were the top losers on the index, falling 2.04% and 1.26% respectively. Trading volume on the CSE All-Share Index rose to 25.7 million shares from 23.1 million shares in the previous session. Equity market turnover rose to 668.9 million rupees from 523 million rupees in the previous session per exchange data. Foreign investors were net sellers offloading stocks worth 96.9 million rupees, while domestic investors were net buyers purchasing shares worth 638.8 million rupees. With that, let's take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies as the day progressed. Cargill's Bank Limited commenced trading on the Colombo Stock Exchange with its shares listed on the main board under the diversified banks sector. In the meantime, Infinix, a Hong Kong-based smartphone brand, commenced its venture into Sri Lanka with an aim to empower the younger generation of the island nation. With that, let's take a look at today's corporate news segment.
The shares of Cargill's Bank Limited commenced trading on the Colombo Stock Exchange on the 9th of January 2024, with its shares being listed on the main board of the CAC under the diversified banks sector. The occasion was marked with a special bell-ringing ceremony. The company's initial public offering for 62.5 million ordinary voting shares has been offered at an issue price of 8 rupees per share, with the aim of raising 500 million rupees for the bank's expansion plans. Infinix, a Hong Kong-based leading global smartphone brand known for its innovative technology and user-centric devices, has now ventured into Sri Lanka with an aim to empower the country's younger generation. After achieving success in 57 countries, the company has plans to bolster its presence in the region by not only introducing cutting-edge smartphones, but also aiming to establish a global manufacturing hub. Further solidifying its commitment to the country's technological and economic growth, the Infinix Zero series, the Hot series and the Smart series are now available across Sri Lanka, both online and in retail outlets. In other news, Sri Lankan Airlines announced that the entity has begun the global rollout of its new distribution capability agents booking portal, Sri Lanka Direct Connect, starting with India, enabling travel agents convenient direct access to the airline's reservation system and an array of other benefits. The new distribution capability platform is a breakthrough travel industry supported program by the International Air Transport Association that sets the pace to digitally transform the journey for airline distribution. Adopting the technology via Sri Lankan Direct Connect allows Sri Lankan Airlines to form a powerful, direct retail and communication channel with agents and bypass traditional, intermediary global distribution systems to provide richer content, ancillary services and personalized offers.
That wraps up all the news I have for you for this evening. My name is Jonathan Benedict. Have a blessed Friday ahead and stay safe. Good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.